Now, the federal government has announced the reopening of 47 unity schools that were shut down in November due to the security situation in the country. A statement by the Ministry of Education says academic activities have fully resumed in the affected schools after security measures within and around the campuses were strengthened. The ministry assures parents, guardians, and the general public that the safety, welfare, and well-being of students remains a top priority of the government. The government also says it's working closely with all security agencies to sustain stability and restore normalcy in the school environment across the country.
Now let's discuss further. Joining us for a conversation is Dr. Getso. He is a security intelligence and investigation expert. He is a community-driven development professional and also the managing director of Eagle Integrated Security and Logistics Company Limited, Abuja. Great to have you this morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers.
All right. The state seems to be projecting a sort of confidence with the reopening of 47 unity schools across the country after the closure due to the mass shootings. Do you believe this reopening is symbolic or substantive? And what I mean by that is, do you believe we're really ready to reopen schools?
Well, I think first of all, we need to look back inward to the issue of security in our schools. Yes, of course, the federal government policy on safe school initiative have been established long before. Almost 4 or 5 years ago, the policy was launched, and all partners were brought on board and other consultants. However, when we look at the situation on ground, we need to look at who are really the key players, the stakeholders, as far as the security in schools is concerned. One, the host community. Are we really working together with the host community where these schools are? Do we really all have a synergy between the dependents and managers? When I say dependents, I'm looking at the DSS, I'm looking at the police, I'm looking at the civil defense, I'm looking at the vigilante, all the relevant agencies that are supposed to have been working with the school management to ensure. And then looking in the general perspective, we can say that there are a lot of more questions to ask than none. Why do we even go into panic of closing the schools? Because as far as I'm concerned, I condemn in totality the position of the government for closing those schools. Because there are issues of insecurity all over the nation. Why closing the schools only in northern Nigeria? And why those specific schools? And what are really the systematic strategy being put in place by government now that will build the trust and confidence of the parents, that it is based on the security challenges? Yes, of course. It is like we are remobilizing, we are remodernizing, and we are kind of coordinating the criminals and rebuilding their confidence that they have the capacity, they have the ability, and they can challenge the state. As far as I'm concerned, I condemn in totality closing the schools, and I don't really believe that the schools are ready as far as security is concerned in the country. Okay. I don't believe, I quite disagree with that.
Okay, Doctor, you've brought up some very pertinent points and a lot of speaking things that we're going to touch on shortly. But I want to know, in your opinion, you're an expert in your field, what gaps are present between the security policy announcements and the actual field implementation?
Well, there are two things to look at. One, what is available on ground, and the speed to which the government might have been probably impute what? Do we have surveillance tools? Do we really have a synchronization or a synchronized activity? Have we conducted security profiling and social profiling? What measure and mechanism have been put in place in terms of bringing the host to communities? And how far have we gone in manning, in initiating, in establishing a working relationship, and what training have we given the teachers? What is was there any meetings between the parents and teachers? What were the issues identified? Because the schools, the issues will be specific. What is obtainable in Bauchi will not be the same obtainable in Maga. What is obtainable in Maga will not be the same obtainable in Yauri. What is obtainable in Mashigu or Mariga will not be obtainable, there's something obtainable in Gwandu, and so on and so forth. So looking at this, we need to look at the specific issues. how far have we walked? What efforts have we made? Have we trained the teachers? Do the teachers even have basic knowledge and basic information of security? Do we really have the fencing parameters? Do we really have institutionalized or provide enabling mechanisms, fixing the windows? Because when you go to the hostels of most of these boarding schools, you will cry. You will cry. When you go to the schools, to the environment, to the classes where these students are learning, you will cry. There are a lot of, they are exposed to so many dangers and so many threats. And as far as I'm concerned, the linkages, having the 2 or 3 policemen around those areas cannot really be able to man the schools. So the communities themselves, the traditional and religious authorities and other philanthropies among other community-based organizations supposed to have been linked and work together with the parents, together with the school managers, the Ministry of Education, the zonal offices, and the regional offices, as well as the state and the federal education authorities, to align with a systematic approach, agreeable, and to be reviewed by the security experts and security personnel or security practitioners, to demonstrate in reality that we have even a map in each of the schools at the gates, whereby all the students will see a kind of a mechanism or a mapping system that will show this is the muster site in case of emergency, this is this, this is this, this is that. I am very doubtful that if we go to these schools, we'll not find anything like this. And most of the schools doesn't even have equipped or personnel in terms of guards. How many guards do we have? In some instances, you find only one aged above the age of 80, 70. What do you think that man can do? And what are the communication gadgets available do we put in place? And what access to the communication gadgets do the students have in the hostels? Most of the matrons are old enough, cannot even see the phone, talk less of utilizing it. So there are a lot of gaps that need to be looked inward and need to be put in place for this school, for us, for Nigeria to say that we are ready for reopening school and we have provided necessary security tools that are required.
Now, I find this conversation rather deeply emotional for me because lives are involved in this. And I believe strongly that posterity will hold the government, the journalists, and even you, the analysts on this matter, accountable if we do not say the truth. There are questions begging for answer. And you talked about the need to bridge the security intelligence gap. Who ordered the withdrawal of that detail few hours to the abduction that took place in Kebbi? And also, when you look at the killing of Brigadier General Musa Uba, it speaks so loud of an intelligence architecture that has been compromised in the narrative of infiltration of terrorist elements into our security, defense, and intelligence architecture. And that reminds me when the government of Obasanjo was waging war with the militants in the Niger Delta, and there was a time for reconciliation. They told him that when you are fueling your jet tank, we already know that you are coming to us. So it shows an utterly compromised intelligence architecture. How do we deal with this? Are you not disturbed that we've not been able to apprehend the person who ordered the withdrawal of security detail from that school?
Well, thank you very much for this question. I'm really happy with this question. First of all, we need to look at even how and who and why and for what. When I say how, of course, around 4 p.m. on the eve of the event, I was able to gather information. I have enough network, much more than the security agencies in Nigeria, in the 774 local governments of the country, because it has been more effective in generating most of the information that I do provide the relevant authorities. So I was able to generate these informations as at when due, that is around 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. For the mobilization that these bandits were mobilizing themselves in 7 to 8 local governments of 4 states. 4 states of Niger, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Kebbi. They were mobilizing themselves in Mariga local government, Mashegu local government, Rijau local government of Niger State, Yauri local government, Ingaski local government, Danko Osogu local government, and part of Sakaba local government of Kebbi State, and also that of Zamfara, Maru local government in the area of Dansado Emirate. On having that information, I tried to reach the highest level of authority as far as intelligence is concerned. And I shared this information. I have not gotten a response until after 4 hours that I'll call you back, because I have followed up with call after sending those informations. So I now had to, I know that I probably need to provide a better and more closer support to the authorities concerned. I went ahead and identified those within the community that have the capacity to generate coordinates. I was able to generate 3 coordinates were raised, were mobilized, and submitted to me, which I shared. And until after about 12 midnight, I follow up with a call, several calls, without a response. So the first question in place, this information has leaked. I was not really sure whether they were targeting school or were targeting one of the communities. But they were disturbing and terrorizing the communities within this local government, as I mentioned, as of the evening up to the early hours of the morning of that day. So, but the information leaked to the DSS in the state as announced severally in many interviews granted by His Excellency the Kaurangwandu, the governor of Kebbi State. And after that, a mobilization, an emergency meeting was called, a mobilization of all the relevant stakeholders as far as security in the state is concerned. Meeting was held, and agreement. So the question is, who and who have been posted to the school? And why do they withdraw? The governor have asked this question. Everybody is asking this question. Does that mean we are not respecting accountability? Does that mean the complicit are above the law? Does that mean those who compromised, are they above the authority? Does that mean we have a special court that if they commit an offense, nobody has the right or privilege to ask the questions? Does that mean the issue is not about their life and death? Okay. Does that mean that government is exposing all Nigerians that go and take care of yourself? Okay. We lack the capacity, ability, and the organization in order to arrest the situation and deal with it. Right. Baku, just before I go on this, I provided information on the movement 3 to 4 hours before they disappear from my network. Movement of the students together with the criminals. And I provided this information to the relevant authorities. But yet, up till now, I have not gotten a single either thank you, or why do you provide this information, or this information is not useful, or this information has been found useful, or how do you get this information? Okay.
You've said a lot. And within the context of all that is going on, there is a disturbing development and trend, which is that there is a mass abduction and the boys or girls students are released and no one is arrested, no one is handed to security agencies for prosecution. And the questions remain, what do you think this does to the overall fight against insecurity?
Well, actually, I cannot conclude that no one is arrested. I cannot conclude that no one has been handed over to the security.
But we don't have that information.
But we don't have the information.
Yeah,
that's why I'm going.
So we should definitely have that information.
That's why I'm going. Yes. We are asking for that information. We are still following up. Nigerians are patiently waiting for a feedback on that. So okay. Now, can you please come up with your question?
No, so I was asking, saying, what does that do to the overall fight against insecurity? Does it make people confident? Does it now bolster the terrorists and kidnappers to continue in their crime?
Well, actually, like I said earlier, it's a mobilization to the terrorists. It's rebuilding their confidence and trust on what they are doing. And also it's remobilizing them and supporting them that you have the capacity, you have the ability to fight the state. Because these are working against the states of Nigeria. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a compromise, it's a complicit, and it must be dealt with if we are really serious moving forward.
What do you think is the reason that your intel was, for lack of a better word, ignored?
Negligence, sabotage against the state, compromise, complicity, and so on. There are so many questions, and there are so many things. But it is very clear that lack of inability of the government to hold people accountable on the responsibilities being assigned are the major instrument and one of the cardinal principles and objective and the key player attributed to the corruption and attributed of the inability of the system to work. It means that we have a total system collapse.
Okay, now let me bring your attention to the issue of illicit terrorism financing. That speaks volume on the sponsors of this terrorism activities across even the West African Sahel. This will need a lot of intricate banking transaction. That also brings us to the issue of ransom, paying these abductors ransom. So is it so difficult? Is it so much of a rocket science that we've not been able to track down this process within this chain of activities?
Well, it is not really difficult for 4 reasons. One, those who are collecting the money are in Nigeria and they operate within the Nigerian space. 2, those who are collecting the money and delivering the money are citizens and indigents of the vicinities within less than 70-kilometer radius of where the money is being delivered. 3, Nigeria have the authority over all the service providers as far as communication is concerned. The MTN, the Airtel, the 9 Mobile, and the Globe. I don't know if there is any authority that these companies have above Nigeria. If there is, above our constitution, I would like to know. I need this information from the government. And also, the huge amount of money in terms of 8 million, 2 million, 10 million, 30 million, even 50 million, and even in some situations, 100 millions. You cannot tell me there were a time between the 2016, 2017, and 2018. I have been talking through national and international media, and I have been talking through the conferences and where I was invited to deliver lectures or in national or international conferences that I attended, that I have evidence-based facts that I can guide the authorities concerned to where this money is being hoarded within the forest, because I have some indicators that I can easily understand that money was buried here. Because those days then, they were keeping the money in those forests. I know, and I have evidences then, before I stop going more closer than compared to what is obtainable now. So those information were not really taken serious by the authorities concerned. Now, most of this money is no longer being kept there. It is either being transported, even if it is being transported to where? Because we have 3 different types of bureau de change. I know most of this money is going through the bureau de change. There is legal bureau de change, there are bilateral bureau de change, and there are illegal bureau de changes. So those, how the government have been making efforts in order to fast track and identify this and ensure that the network, the synchronization has been, the system have been broken. That is one. What is the importance of our financial intelligence, national financial intelligence? What are they really doing? How do we know how much money has been delivered and what are they doing, using it with? Yes, of course, there is influx of a kind of exchange of money for arms. There is also exchange of money for fuel. There are also exchange of money for essential services. Because the crime in Nigeria is so organized that it is just like an organizational behavior or organizational chart. So we need to be very, very careful and to ask there are so many questions to ask in relation to where is this money is going, and the inability of the government, and who have really been financing.
Okay.
Because they have been promoting themselves from
Dr.
using
Yahuza.
one type of arms to the higher arms.
Dr. Yahuza.
Yes, please.
Sorry to cut you short. This is a very insightful conversation, very interesting. We still have many more questions. Maybe another time we can bring you back on the show, but we thank you for your contribution today and joining us on Daybreak. That is Dr. Yahuza Getso, who is a security intelligence and investigation expert. He's also a community-driven development professional and the managing director of Eagle Integrated Security and Logistics Company here in Abuja. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.